This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good Erev Shabbos Haboisai, as we prepare for Chanukah, Tav Shin Ayin Zayin, Haba Aleinu L'Toiva.
Amen.
So, in the Al Anisim, which we mentioned was written by Yochanan Kohen Gadol, we say the expression Ulecha Asisa Shem Gadol V'Kadosh Ba'Olamecha. And for you, you made a great and holy name in your world. What does that mean? That's a good question. What does that mean that through the miracle of Chanukah, Hashem made a great and holy name in His world? And this is the question that is brought up in the Sefer Yimei Chanukah. Yimei Chanukah is written by Rav David Cohen, Rosh Yeshiva of Chevron, and this year they came out with the new edition. And obviously the new edition has 100 more pages, so even though you have the old edition, you have to buy the new edition. But it's well worth it. So you want to know, what does it mean? Ulecha asisa Shem Gadol v'Kadosh ba'Olamecha. And another diuk which I found very insightful is if in fact on Chanukah God made a great and holy name for Himself. If you look at the end of the Al Anisim, it says V'kavu shmona simei Chanukah elu l'hodeso l'halal l'shimcha Hagadol. What happened to Hakadosh? I mean, if Ulecha asisa Shem Gadol v'Kadosh ba'Olamecha, so then we should say Kavu shmona simei Chanukah elu l'hodeso l'shimcha Hagadol v'Hakadosh.
Would have messed up the number of words.
So what happened? Oh, then you went to equal Yochanan. You see, at that point, very good.
What?
Okay. Anyway, Marv Rabbi, I'm going to present a question to you. I don't think anyone here ever thought about this question. Neither did I. It's because the more obvious something is, the more we're used to something, the less we think about it. And that is, what do we call God? How do we refer to Him? Hakadosh Baruch. Did anyone here ever think, why do we call Hashem Hakadosh Baruch? Why don't we call Him Hanoira Baruch, HaMehula Baruch, HaGadol Baruch? Who decided that God's name should be Hakadosh Baruch? Like, who gave Him that name? Now, by the way, where does it say that? It doesn't say that in the Chumash. Nowhere in the Chumash is God referred to as Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Where does it say Hakadosh Baruch Hu? Ve'Hakadosh Baruch Hu Matzi. Go for it. Matzi Leinu. What? It's on the sheet. No, the word Hakadosh Baruch Hu. I know God's a Kadosh. It's also He's a Noira. He's a Gibar. He's a Nema. I mean, a lot of words for Hashem. But who decided Hashem's name should be HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That's the Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, where Koiveya in the Haggadah, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu Matzilenu Miyadam.
That's the earliest.
Is that the earliest source? I'm saying yes. If you find an earlier one, then we'll have to change it. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't think it's in. I don't think it's not in the Tanakh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Vilna Gaon, in his commentary to the Haggadah, is bothered. Why is God called Hakadosh Baruch Hu? What does Kadosh mean and what does Baruch mean? Kadosh is the most misunderstood word. What's Kadosh? You sit there and you roll up the black of your eye into your head and people only see the white. Then you're a Kadosh, right? Even though the guy's thinking about the stock market, who knows what the guy's thinking about, it doesn't make you a Kaddish because you can't see the pupil of his eye. What does it mean to be holy?
Separate, different.
The guy's definitely different. Yeah, no question.
Separate from the whole universe.
What?
Can't be Prushim to you.
What does Kaddish mean?
Prushim.
Separate, different. Heilig. Heilig is what is Heilig? I remember when I was in elementary school. So they used to teach into Yiddish. So I don't know the Lashon HaKadosh. I don't know the Yiddish. All I know is Kadosh means Heilig, but I don't know what either word means. What does it mean, Kadosh? So it says the Vilna Gaon.
The Matre of Hakadosh.
Yeah.
It's 11. So we're too short, so we got to find out what another 2 is.
Baruch and who?
What? Kadosh? No, it's not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a rage, not a Baruch.
Yeah.
Sorry, retract that. I'll erase that from the...
Okay. Perosh, says the Gra, Perosh Shem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Al Nikra Al Shem Klalios Hashgachasis Barach. It encompasses both dimensions of God's providence. What are they? Shehem beis b'chinos, chasadim ugvurais, kindness and might. V'hakadosh nikra ba'asoisei din ba'olam. Kadosh, he's called Kadosh when he employs midas hadin. Az neskadei shemai ba'olam. His name is sanctified u'misyara mimenu, and people are afraid of him. V'yadu kulam shu mufrosh mikal, and everyone understands that he's above and beyond. V'chein tamid milas hakadosh moira al din. So I'm not sure if I knew that when we refer to God as Kadosh, we're referring to his exercising midas hadin, because when he exercises midas hadin, his name is sanctified, and people are nisyare mimenu, and people recognize that he's mufresh mikal, like it says in Tikkunei Zohar. In other words, v'kidashta es halavim. The Levim represent midas hadin. Ubaruch hu nikra al chazdoi. Baruch refers to God's kindness, asher gavar ba'olam, that prevails in the world. Because when people see God's kindness, they bless Hashem. Nobody blesses Hashem for, it's hard to bless Hashem for midas hadin. But when people see Hashem's chesed, v'ayidei is baruch b'fikal. V'zehu hakadosh baruch hu. What better name is there that sort of encapsulates both facets of God's hashgacha than a word that describes both midas hadin, which is hakadosh, and midas hachesed baruch hu. Okay, I never knew that. Here I am, I'm using the word HaKadosh Baruch my whole life. I never knew why Hashem was called HaKadosh Baruch. And V'zeu HaKadosh Baruch HaKadosh ala gvura asher oisa u'baruch ala toivos asher oisa. Now, why do we say Baruch Hu? He is third person. Why don't we say Baruch Ata? Shechazdoi gonuz v'nelam. Why we say Baruch? Because his kindness is hidden. In other words, we say Hu. Why Hu? Why don't we say Hakadosh Baruch Ata? Why Hu? Because it's hidden.
Wouldn't be nice.
We always say Baruch Ata, right? But listen to what the Gaon says. Since God's kindness is hidden, Rak al yedei hagavuros nizgalek tzas mechazda hanelama. Through his power, a little bit of his kindness is revealed. Now the Gaon is bothered by a kash. Why do we say Hakadosh Baruch Hu? We should say Baruch Hu Hakadosh. First talk about Midas HaChesed, and then talk about Midas Hadin. The answer is because God's Chesed is only revealed through His Gevura. V'chein Amar Tchila HaKadosh v'achar kach Baruch Hu v'zehu she'amar v'hiskadilti v'hiskadishti. By the way, where does it say that? Where does it say v'hiskadilti v'hiskadishti? Yecheskel. What? We have such a learned bunch of gentlemen here that they're familiar with these words. V'hiskadilti v'hiskadishti. Let's see if anybody knows where in Yecheskel it says it. It's amazing. People out there, they would never know how great. That's why when we have somebody came from South Africa, they're so impressed with our group, right? They knew. Yes, our group knows that it's in Yecheskel Perek Lamed Ches Pasuk Chaf Gimel. It says v'hiskadilti v'hiskadishti. I became great and I became sanctified. Right? Higdalti b'hatoivas asher asa'az. I will become great with my beneficence. V'hiskadishti, and I'll become sanctified b'hanekamos asher esa, with the revenge that I do. V'zeu she'amar kan v'hakadosh baruch hu be'elu habez b'chinois. With these two groups, Matzilenu miyadam, save us from, Hashem saves us from them, mi beis yadayim shalahem. Moreover, Rabbi, listen to what the Gaon is saying. First of all, he's telling us a very important idea, that the reason why Hashem is called Hakadosh Baruch Hu is it encapsulates both facets of Hashem's hashgacha. Hakadosh is midas ha-gevura, midas hadin. Baruch Hu is midas ha-chesed. This is similar to the pasuk in Yecheskel, v'hiskadishti, v'hiskadilti, v'hiskadishti, which obviously you all knew is the basis for the words of Kaddish. Yiskadel v'yiskadesh me'rabah. Says the Gaon, why is it Hakadosh and then Baruch Hu? He says something which I'm not 100% clear on, and that is God's chesed only becomes recognizable through His gevura. In other words, we don't see God's kindness in the world, but when He exercises gevura and din, through that we see His kindness. I'm not sure I understand what that means, but again, like I say many times, that's the words of the Gra. The words of the Gra is that God's kindness is not manifest and open. We only recognize Him through Midas Hadin and Midas Hagvura.
Yeah.
The question, though, which is obvious then, is, now the Gra says, why is He first Hakadosh and then Baruch Hu? Is because we, through Hakadosh, through Midas Hadin, we recognize Midas HaChesed. So then why in the world, in the Pasuk in Yecheskel, does it say, V'hiskadilti v'hiskadishti? Or why in Kaddish do we say Yiskadel v'yiskadish? If God is Hakadosh and only then Baruch Hu, then we should say Yiskadish v'yiskadel Shemei Rabbah. Like we say Hakadosh Baruch Hu. And the Pasuk in Yecheskel should be V'hiskadilti v'hiskadishti. Or, Rabbi say, we could go back to the Alanisim and we could ask, why do we say Ulecha Sisa Shem Gadol V'Kadosh V'Olamecha? Isn't He Hakadosh Baruch Hu? Meaning Hakadosh V'Hagadol? So why in Alanisim is it Hagadol V'Hakadosh? In other words, why is Alanisim following the pattern of Yecheskel, of Hiskadol V'Hiskadishti, or the pattern of Kaddish? Why does it not follow the pattern of Hakadosh Baruch Hu? By the way, in the Sefer Or Torah, Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chaver, he also brings down V'zeh shekasa v'zeh reisha demalka v'chesed u'gvura iskan v'hainu kishemaroimim karen yisov v'yisadin az nasa chesed l'yisrael u'gvura v'u'mes ha'olam v'az misroimim reisha demalka u'mizgada u'mizgada shema yizbach kiyadua. Okay.
Isn't Yecheskel talking in this? This is the end of the Sefer, right? Lamed Ches. So we're talking about Liyasad Lavo. So he's talking about maybe in Liyasad Lavo is Kadali is Kadashti, and that's what we're saying in Kaddish. But in Al Anisim we had a turnaround.
No, but in Al Anisim it also follows that pattern, right?
Yes, I'm saying in Al Anisim you had a turnaround from a very bad situation to a good situation. In Liyasad Lavo also we hope that it'll be from a difficult situation to a good situation. So then when we hope for that.
Well, look at Mitzrayim also. When God took us out, it was not good. And it was the Hakadosh Baruch Hu, first Kadosh and then Gadol. Okay, you're barking up a good tree. The Reb David Cohen, look at number 8. He says we could be ma'ayin in the words of the Gra. Since the normal Seder Hanhaga is first Kadosh and then Baruch, because God's kindness is hidden, and only through His Gevurais a little bit of His Chesed is revealed. Why in Yecheskel does it say Hiskadelti and then Hiskadishti? So, Rav David Cohen says, you would think then, it's Pashat, that only in Olam Hazeh God's kindness is hidden. Only in this world do we not see God's kindness. We don't have in this world God just showing His kindness direct. It's hidden, it's masked, and we have to perceive it through Midas Hadin. But, La'asad Lavai, like you mentioned, then we'll have a raw, unadulterated revelation of Chesed. We won't need Midas Hadin or Gevurais to be able to see Chesed, but the Chesed will become revealed initially by itself, not through Din, but independently. So that's why La'asad Lavai, it's V'hiskadilti V'hiskadishi, La'asad Lavai, we won't be sort of limited in our ability to perceive God's kindness and only be able to see it through Midas Hadin, but it will become independently, inherently, initially revealed. That's why we say Yiskadel v'Yiskadesh. In other words, we're davening that God should reveal His Chesed to us straight up. But the question then is, why in the Nusach of Al Anisim do we say Ulecha Asisa Shem Gadol v'Kadosh B'Olamecha? Why? But we just pointed out, in this world, the Seder is Hakadosh Baruch Hu, that we only perceive God's kindness through Midas Hadin. So you'll say, Rabbi say, that the truth is that Chanukah was also a special revelation of God's kindness, somewhat in a way, a page out of the world to come, where God's attribute of Chesed became revealed independently. It didn't come through us seeing God exercise Midas Hadin. In other words, the Giloy of the Pach Shemen, which was an independent Giloy of God's Chesed, Shaloi Keder Chateva, we saw God's Shmai Hagadol without being masked by Midas Hadin. So, Lamashal, let's say out the following idea, that we know that there's a famous question See, we have it in number 17. There's a famous question. We have these two miracles of Chanukah. You have the miracle of the flask of oil mentioned in the Gemara, and you have the miracle of the military victory mentioned in the Al Anisim. So, how do you reconcile these two miracles? What was the function of these two miracles? So the Maral says, look, it's obvious. We're not making a Yom Tov because we had one flask of oil and lasted for 8 days. What's that got to do with me? We're thanking Hashem that He saved our skin. And Judaism continues. That's more meaningful. The problem, though, is that somebody who doesn't perceive God's hand will say, okay, that's dems are the break. That's the way the world works. The underdog sometimes wins. It happens. Not every time does a superpower win the war. It happens pretty often. So therefore, the purpose of the miracle of oil was to give us an understanding. Hey, God's doing things in this. God's doing things in this tekufa. So then, the miracle of the oil revealed to us that military victory was not just the underdog one. That was also Rebbe Sham's hand in the victory. So, in other words, the miracle of the oil revealed that the military victory was supernatural. That's the famous idea of the Maral. Look at number 17. The main celebration is the military victory. It was not apparent, it was miraculous. They may have mistakenly thought it was their own might. So Chanukah was not that through God's power we saw His chesed. It was sort of the opposite. Through the miracle of the oil, where we saw independently God's kindness, that revealed on the Hakadosh. In other words, the Hagadol, the kindness of Hashem, gave us a glimpse into the Gevura of Hashem. The miracle of the oil, the kindness of Hashem, gave us a glimpse into the Teva, as opposed to, I'll explain it as follows. The Beis Halevi, in number 10, the Beis Halevi says that in a footnote in Parshas Peshalach, he says, we know that another way of saying Midas Hadin, which name of God refers to Midas Hadin? Elohim is Teva. Teva is what? Tes, Vez, Ayin. Oh, wait a second, it's only 81. The answer is Hatev. Hatev is 86. Another way of saying Midas Hadin is Hateva. Midas Hadin is when God lets nature take its course. Midas Harachamim and the Chesed of Hashem is when He supersedes it. So let's say in the times of Purim, everything was guised in nature. So that's the typical Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Through nature, through Midas Hadin, the Yad Hashem became apparent. Right? That's the normal way. Hakadosh, through Midas Hadin, through Teva, Baruch Hu, we see God's kindness. Chanukah is just the opposite, according to the Maral. Through the miracle of the oil, which is what? Lamala min Teva, supernatural. Midas Ha-Chesed, we recognize that the Midas Hadin, the Teva of the war, was also God. So Chanukah was backwards. Normally it's HaKadosh, Midas Hadin, like Chanukah, Teva, and then Baruch Hu. We recognize God's kindness through the Teva. Chanukah is the exact opposite. Ulecha asis Hashem, Gadol, and only then Kadosh. Through the Chesed of the Neros of the Menorah, we recognized that the military victory, the Teva, was God Himself.
They don't recognize, military victory. If you have 13 people overcoming the empire, the Roman Empire, or the Greeks,
No, human nature is...
That you don't recognize...
Yeah, but you say, look, those Greeks are a bunch of dumbbells, they don't have good generals, they don't have good military acumen, they don't have, people, there are so many rationalizations. We had better positioning, there are more, but we had better...
strategic location.
Look in our times.
67 to 1. It wasn't 13 people.
So then it comes out, Chanukah is a page out of the La'asad Lavai at a time in our history where it will be Yiskadel v'Yiskadesh. That's why the Karakemach writes that the word Chanukah, which means inauguration, what are we inaugurating? He says we're inaugurating the Mashiach. What does Chanukah have to do with Mashiach? Because Chanukah is a Hanhaga of the Rebbeinu Shalom that will only become apparent La'asad Lavai b'Mais HaMashiach, when we'll see not Hakadosh Baruch Hu, but rather Yiskadel v'Yiskadesh Shemei Rabbah. Karakemach is written by Rabbeinu B'chai. Let's add another prat. Here. See, I hope Be'ezus Hashem we could say this properly. We know there's a concept that God's name is Yud Kei Vav Kei. And we know that when Amalek is around, God's name is not complete. Yud Kei Vav Kei. But when Amalek is in the world, it's Ki Yad Al Keis Ka. So you only have Yud Kei. So Marv Rabbi Sai, let's try to understand a little bit. It says in Tehillim, Asagavehu Ki Yada Shemi. I will raise you up because you know my name. Which means that when a person studies the name of Hashem, it's a tremendous aliyah. The Rebbeinu Shalom raises them up. So let's try to study a little bit the name of Hashem. What does Yud Kei Vav Kei mean? What does Yud Kei mean? What does Vav Kei mean? Why are the letters Vav Hei absent when Amalek is in the world? So the Vilna Gaon wrote a commentary to the Agadata Gemaras and Masechta Baba Basra, the Rabbi Babar Chana Gemaras. You ever see those Gemaras? Like fantastic stories about jumping on whales, turning an island, it's a whale, all kinds of very fantastical, outrageous in a good way. It's very hard to understand. Obviously, it's laden with all types of mashalim and allegory. And the Vilna Gaon wrote a comment to this. So in his commentary to these Agadata, the Gaon says, Ki yad al keis ka, v'amar Chazal, she'ein Hashem shalem, ve'ein hakisei shalem, ad she'igalenu. Ve'inyan Hashem, Kamashikaz of Chazal, Amar of Lazar Yakim, Yom Shechar Beis HaMikdash, Dai La'ilamai She'yishtamesh B'shtei Oisiyos She'nemar Kol HaNeshama Tahaloka. Meaning, when Amalek's around, his name is not complete, but rather we could only use two letters. Which letters? Yud and Kei. What does this mean? Says the Gaon in a Sefer Emunah v'Hashgacha. V'zeh yuvan ma'shekasav ki ein Hashem shalem ad sheyimcha zaroi shal Amalek. Umashma af bizman shebeis hamikdash kayam. Even when the Beis Hamikdash is standing. Let's see what this means. Uvamakom acher. Uvamakom acher in another place. Amru mishum shecharav Beis Hamikdash. Dayal oilam sheishtamish beis oisius. When the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, it's enough to use two letters. Vinei lo yadanu inyan chisar beis oisius elamei Hashem. Now we don't really know what this means. What does it mean when the Beis Hamikdash is standing Yud Kei Vav Kei, and when the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed only Yud Kei, and we don't have Vav Kei? Says the Gaon, Afki in lanu esek ben astaris. Who are we to investigate secrets? But let's try to explain Achnavar K'tzas Adarach Pshat. Let's explain it a little bit in the simple Pshat Lefi Katzach Leinu, according to our small minds. Vel inyan ki kol ma she'anu medabrim menu yisbarach. When we speak of God, we don't know what God is in His essence. Hakol hu mitzad hashgachasenu. It's all what? It's based on our understanding, hasagasenu, our comprehension. Mipasan hagas ha'olam, the way the world operates. Shezeh sibas hishtanus hashemos. The different names of God are not the different aspects of God. It's the different ways that we comprehend God. It's not God's different, it's that we could only compartmentalize different ways of understanding Him. There's no name to call Him. It is known from the Mekubalim Ki Oisius Yod Hei Mishem Havaya Moira Al Chachma Uvina Shehim B'Machshava. Yud Kei is thought. The Havav Moira Al B'chinas Hadibur Kviyachal. Vav is speech. Ve'achroina An Maisa. Thought, speech, Maisa. V'hinei Kamosha Hadibur B'Maisa Shabadam Hu B'His Galois Aval HaMachshava Hu B'Hester. Speech and act is revealed, but thought is secret. You need, only with extra contemplation could you attain an understanding of Hashem. Likewise with God. So again, let's try to get that. Yud K is machshava. Vav is dibor. Hey is maisa. Maisa and dibor are galoi. Machshava is nistar. So what does that have to do with Hashem? Kain kiviyachal ba yisbarach. Bizman shebeis hamikdash kayam, av shebechol ha'olam lo yharnikar kolkach hashgachas yisbarach. When the Beis Hamikdash was standing, even though his hashgacha was not completely recognizable, kozman she'amalei kayam, roish hamordim, v'akorfim be'amuna, as long as Amalek was around, the chief heretic. In other words, the Vilna Gaon is saying, when we say so long as Amalek is around, God's name is incomplete, it means even when the Beis Hamikdash stood, if Amalek's around, his name is not complete. In other words, the understanding of Hashem is not complete. In other words, you know what the meaning is that we don't have Vav Hey when Amalek's around? That means God is not revealed. Vav represents Dibor and Hey represents Maisa. In other words, those are things which are revealed. God's Hashgacha is not clear in the world.
So is it our responsibility to give
One second. Yeah, not right now. Not this minute. We're not finished the Shiur yet. But then, yeah, after Shiur. V'chein hakisei, and likewise the throne, Melucha, kisei melucha Hashem is gadal, idei Yisrael shenekram tzivos Hashem, shehem nesunim elyoin al kol hagayim. Rak b'beis hamikdash nikra idei nisim shenasavai. Only in the Beis Hamikdash is God recognizable through the miracles. Like it says, Asar Nisim Nasav Sin Beis Hamikdash. And the string of red, which turned white, when we did Ritzon Shamakam, in the Ner Ma'aravi. Or, the Goyrol always landed on the right side. Savam B'Shir Kafel Milachem Apanim. Or Ravitza Sa'ish Kari, or the crouching of the fire. And all these miracles that happened in the Beis Hamikdash, or the Kruvim. When Klal Yisrael was Zoicha, the Kruvim embraced each other. So in the Beis Hamikdash, when God's Hashgacha was open and apparent, there were so many miracles, besides the 10 miracles, all these miracles, that's why the Kohanim in the Beis Hamikdash were able to pronounce Yud Kei Vav Kei. Why? Because God is revealed in the Mikdash. He's not just Nistar. Yud Kei is the Nistar of Hashem. That God is always Yud Kei. He's always Nistar, but He's only Begaloi in the Mikdash. That's why the Kohanim were allowed to say Hashem's name. But when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, then it's enough to use 2 names because He's not Nikar, only to those who are misbeinin in Him, and therefore that's why we're left with Yud Kei. This is what it means. Wherever Klal Yisrael is exiled, the Shekhinah is with them. What does that mean? Not revealed Hashem, but the Hashgacha Lekis, which is Mislabish B'derech HaTeva. This is the concept of Golus HaShekhinah, where Hashem is not recognizable and His Hashgacha is not recognizable, lehepach from the kavana of Riyas HaOlam. That's what it means, l'shem yichud kud shabrichu, to meyached the Yud Kei with the Vav Kei, because right now it's only Yud Kei, which means God is hidden. But we hope one day to bring back that Vav Kei, that God's Hashgacha should be revealed in the world. That's why God created this world. Hakol bara, kamash bara Hakadosh Baruch Hu b'olamai loy bara ela lichvaydai. Now, so this is a big chiddush, that Yud Kei represents the Nistar of Hashem, which is always there. God is always Nistar. Yes, Beis Hamikdash, no Beis Hamikdash. Wherever we are in the world, God is hidden. But the Vav, which is Dibor, and the Hey, which is Maisa, which is the revealed manifestations of God, we only could say in the Beis Hamikdash. We can't say outside the Beis Hamikdash. Outside the Beis Hamikdash, He's not revealed. The Gaon also says in Parshas Balak, Yud Kei, Vav Kei is what? Rachamim. But Ka is Midas Hadin, right? Well, like the pasuk says, Ashrei HaGever Asher Tiyasrenu Ka. Fortunate is a man that God rebukes. So think about it this way: Yud Kei is Midas Hadin. Midas Hadin is always yes, Beis Hamikdash, no Beis Hamikdash. There's always Ka. When the Beis Hamikdash stood, it's Yud Kei Vav Kei. Midas Rachamim was apparent. Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, we can only use Ka. So it says of David Cohen, we have an added dimension of understanding here. When Klal Yisrael is in Galos, his name is not complete. Why? He's only Ka. Because Klal Yisrael and Galos are not makir God's hashgacha in the world. The only thing that's recognizable in the world today, the only thing that's apparent is you see Midas Hadin. But Midas HaChesed is hidden. Midas HaChesed is hidden. Because God's Midas HaChesed is not apparent in the world. And therefore, we call Rebbeinu Shalom what? Today? Hakadosh Baruch. Through Midas Hadin, only then you could, through the Teva, so you get a little flavor for Midas HaRachamim. That's why God's name is not complete. La'asad Lavoi, the Midas HaChesed will not be Gonos in the Midas Hadin. It will be apparent on its own.
Shouldn't nature be Rachamim?
No.
What do you think?
Hateva
Comes up slowly, goes down slowly, not to, shock.
You have to see it. Yes, it's couched, it's hidden. It's Midas HaChesed is hidden in nature, but Midas nature is din. Comes up this time. It says this time. You can't change it. You can't move it. If somebody's not feeling well, Chas v'Shalom, they're sick. It's Midas Hadin. So Midas HaRachamim supersedes the rules. So yeah.
When you say Midas HaChesed is not apparent, keep the war, keep the war, you almost lost, and then the overcame. Midas HaChesed.
Again, it's not.
Every week, every year, you have to also be able to do someone becomes healthy.
The Midas, but you have to be able to perceive it. It's not open. You have to be able to see. You have to be able to see that the Rebbeinu Shalom from behind the scenes is being native. It's not. If it was nicker in the world, then we'd be acting very differently. People. The Rebbeinu Shalom is cloaked and masked and couched. Let's see how he brings this out. At the end of tefillah like this, listen to this. In the times of Chanukah, is a little bit of a different hashgacha. It's not that we recognize the Yad Hashem through the military victory and we say, you know what, even though it looks like a natural process, God's really there. God openly revealed Midas HaChesed through the miracle of the Neiros, and through the Hatava and the Hagadol, that revealed on the Hakadosh. So therefore, says Rabbi David Cohen, in the Nusach of Al Hanisim, we don't say Hakadosh Baruch Hu. We say Ulecha Asisa Shem Gadol Midas HaChesed V'Kadosh. And therefore, V'Kavu Shmanis Lechanukah specifically Loidus Ala L'Shimcha Hagadol. Because from the fact that God's Chesed revealed on His Kedusha, Niskala Shmai Hagadol Ba'olam, and the Yom Tov of Chanukah was enacted.
Well, why don't we say Kaddish at the end?
The Yom Tov of Chanukah, he says, was enacted to sing Hallel and Hoidah to that independent midah. In other words, this was a unique situation. Normally, we only recognize God's kindness through another vehicle, and on Chanukah, we were able to see His Gedula independently, and therefore the Yom Tov of Chanukah was primarily nikva to thank Hashem for that independent revelation of God's godless. The kavu shmeinis me'Chanukah elu l'hoydas al halal l'shimcha haggadah. Well, says Rav David Cohen, this would explain another nusach in Tefillah. We know in the Musaf of the Shalosh Regalim, what do we say? What do we call the Beis HaMikdash? Bayis, Hagadol, Hakadosh. It's out of order. So be Hakadosh v'Hagadol, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Says the David Kono, we already said in the Beis HaMikdash there was a different Hanhaga. In the Beis HaMikdash the Hanhaga was not Hakadosh Baruch Hu. We didn't recognize God through the Teva, through Midas Hadin. We recognized God openly. So in the Beis HaMikdash we saw the Bayis Hagadol v'Hakadosh. So I just want to add one small Haisafa, and that is there's another time in davening where we first say Gadol and then Kadosh. We say in Moedim D'Rabbanan. Say Moedim Rabbanon say brachos v'aydos l'shimcha Hagado v'Hakadosh. Wait a second.
Yeah, that should be.
But that's opposite. But maybe it's because, think about what we're about to say.
Choose everybody.
Al shech yisanu v'kiyamtanu kein t'chayenu skaymeinu v'sesav gol yosenu lechatzros kadshecha. It's part of a tefillah to daven to return to the Beis Hamikdash. So maybe since it's in the context of the return to the Beis Hamikdash, we also use Shimcha Haggadah v'Hakadosh. But now I'm thinking there's another one.
Benching.
I didn't think of that one. Here, so don't ask it. 1 second. I'll come to benching in a second. I'll see if I have an answer. If I have an answer, then I'll ask it. In Yishtabach, we say, you know? Rachas v'aydos me'ata v'yad olam. Do we say it? See, in Nusach Ashkenaz we have no problems. Baruch Hashem, for it. So we're good. Nusach Sfard cannot take responsibility for Nusach Sfard. What does Nusach Sfard say? Just joking. They only have Ashkenaz Siddurim here. Good. What about what they have? What do you say? Rachas v'aydos l'shimcha. We say l'shimcha Haggadah v'Hakadosh. No. I need it. Rachas v'aydos l'shimcha Haggadah v'Hakadosh. U'mer lo miyad olam atakel. So look, just because we remember it, it doesn't exist until we find the Sfard Siddur. No, but I think in Sfard we say Brachas Shimcha Haggadah v'Hakadosh. But maybe because in the context of it we say Umei Olam v'Yad Olam. So what's Mei Olam v'Yad Olam? L'chara it's Olam Hazen, Olam Haba, and Olam Haba there also the Hanhaga of the Rebbeinu Shalom is that Sfard.
So that's also out of the way. Can't be that. Can't be with the reckless one.
So let's come to Birchas Hamazon. Where do we say in Birchas Hamazon? What can we do? Here, he caught me. He says, L'shimcha Haggadah v'Hakadosh. But maybe because we're about to say, Umei Olam v'Yad Olam, in other words, we reference Olam Haba, and Olam Haba also, we have this hanhaga of recognizing God's Gedula before we recognize His Gevurah. What about Birchas Hamazon? That's the Abayis Haggadah v'Hakadosh. Okay, so that's the same answer. Baruch Hashem.
Where do we say Hakadosh v'Hakadosh? Do we never say...
Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Do we ever say Hakadosh in davening?
I'm trying to think in my head. It sounds funny. You know?
1 second. I just thought of another one. 1 second. In Shemona Esrei.
Hakadosh.
Hakel Haggadah Agiro. No, we don't even say Hakadosh. Okay, Rabbi say.
So we never
Baruch Hashem. We'll end the shiur before we have any more questions. All the questions that we asked are answered. I wish everybody a Chanukah of Gedula, Gevura, Kedusha, Tiferes, Afreilich and Chanukah, Agun Shabbos, Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.